Welcome back to Keep Your Hebrew, and today we're looking at Jeremiah chapter 2, verses 18 and 19. Apologies in advance for the gravelly voice. I just recovered from a cold and I'm trying to get back on the saddle with some of these Jeremiah recordings. So let's start with verse 18. V'ata ma lach lederech Mitzrayim lishtot me shichor Uma lach Lederech Ashur Lishtot Me Nahar. And now, what to you to the way of Egypt? This is an idiomatic expression which basically means what benefit or what advantage is it to you to go the way of Egypt? This lamed over here in particular is a lamed of advantage. You can check the Williams reference here. So what advantage is it to you to go the way of Egypt? To drink, so this is a cal infinitive construct of shata, to drink, with the lamed preposition. To drink the waters of Shihor. Now, Shihor is the name of one of the branches of the Nile. So there's kind of like synecdoche going on here, where a part is representing the whole. And what benefit is it to you to go the way of Assyria? To drink the waters of the river here referring to the Euphrates. So it's kind of like a lot of figurative language going on here with the synecdoche and also the symbolic language of drinking from the waters of, the respective rivers that represent the economic lifeblood of these political powerhouses, Egypt and Assyria. Moving on to verse 19. Teyasarech ra'atech umashuvotayich tohichuch udai urai ki ra vamar ozvech et Adonai Elohai velo pachdati elayich naum Adonai Elohim Zavaot. Your evil will rebuke you. So this is the Peel Yiktol 3fs of Yasar with a 2fs suffix. And your apostasies or your backslidings, they will reproach you. So this is actually a Hefil Yiktol 3fp with a 2fs suffix from the root what can be pronounced as hochiach in the Hefil. And know and see that evil and bitter is your forsaking the Lord your God. So this is an infinitive construct with a 2fs suffix, and it's actually functioning as the subject of this clause. And the predication of it is that it is evil and bitter. And not my fear to you, the fear of me or the dread of me, my fear, my dread is not in you, declares the Lord, God of hosts. So the main application of these two verses is captured in the imperatives, know and see. Know and see what? Know and see that it is bitter, is evil and bitter that you forsook the Lord your God. And in this case, This forsaking of the Lord is expressed in going down to Egypt and Assyria to drink from their respective rivers, as it were, turning aside from the way of the Lord and going down to the way of Egypt and Assyria. And what we see at the heart of this is that the dread or the fear of the Lord is not something that pertains to them. It's not something that pertains to Israel, and that's what accounts for their apostatizing or backsliding from the way. So there's a number of ways we can apply what we've just learned in these verses. So one example of how this verse convicts us is that on a societal scale, the church has perhaps maybe put too much stock in political power, and the modern sort of affiliation between churches and political parties might be an instance in which Christians have actually been guilty of what the Lord is talking about here, finding security in political, earthly power rather than trusting in the Lord and trusting in His sovereignty. After all, we're supposed to see that the Lord is the Lord of hosts, and it's Him that we're meant to find security in. But sometimes Christians get sidetracked by worldly political agendas. Another way we can apply this on a more individual and personal scale is when we consider the times that we turn to some sinful source of security. For instance, it could be a marriage with an unbeliever or an illicit emotional affair that we use to kind of spruce up our sense of who we are. It could also be a job that causes us to violate our conscience or causes us to spend so much time on it that it draws us away from a life of devotion and a life of faith. And all these are just examples of how Christians, corporately or individually, can, in the process of seeking security from a source apart from the Lord, end up compromising on their walk and backsliding and apostatizing. That's all for today. Join us again next time for more on Jeremiah chapter 2.